According to Imam Malik, divorce is also of three kinds: Sunni, Bidi Makruh and Bidi Haram. The divorce according to the Sunnah is that a single divorce be pronounced on the woman marriage with whom has been consummated and who menstruates, during her state of purity without having had sexual intercourse, and the woman be left to complete her waiting period. The Bidi Makruh form is that divorce be pronounced in the period of purity during which one may have had sexual intercourse, or more divorces than one be pronounced in the period of purity while there was no sexual intercourse, or 3 divorces be pronounced, one each in separate periods of purity within the waiting period, or 3 divorces be pronounced all at once. And Bidi Haram is that divorce be pronounced during menstruation. Hashiya ad-Dasuki al-Shar al-Kabir ibn Ai Arabi, Akam al-Quran, the authentic viewpoint of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, which is generally agreed upon by the Hanbalis, is the approved method, i.e. the one according to the Sunnah, of divorcing a wife with whom marriage has been consummated and who menstruates is that a single divorce be pronounced on her in her period of purity without having had sexual intercourse with her, and then she be left to complete her waiting period. But if she is given 3 divorces, one each in 3 separate periods of purity, or 3 divorces in one and the same period of purity, or divorced thrice at once, or divorced during the courses, or divorced in the period of purity during which the husband has had sexual intercourse and her being pregnant is not known, all these would be disapproved and forbidden. Forms of divorce. But if the woman is such that marriage with her has been consummated but who no longer menstruates, or such who has not yet menstruated, or is pregnant, in her case there is neither any difference of approved and disapproved with regard to time nor with regard to the number of divorces pronounced. Al-Insaf fi Marifate Araji min al-Khilaf ala Madhab Ahmad bin Hanbal. According to Imam Shafi'i, in the matter of divorce the difference between the approved, i.e. according to the Sunnah, and the reprehensible, i.e. against the Sunnah, forms of divorce is only with regard to time and not with regard to number, that is, to pronounce divorce on a woman marriage with whom has been consummated and who menstruates, during menstruation, or to pronounce divorce on an ovarian, who can conceive, during such a period of purity in which the husband has had sexual intercourse with her and the woman's pregnancy is unknown, is disapproved and forbidden. As for the number, whether 3 divorces are pronounced at one time, or pronounced in the same period of purity, or pronounced in separate periods of purity, they are not against the Sunnah in any case. In case the woman is such that marriage with her has not been consummated, or the one who no longer menstruates, or the one who has not yet menstruated, or the one whose being pregnant is known, there is no difference between the approved and the disapproved forms of divorce. Mughni al-Mutaj. 2. A divorce being irregular, reprehensible, forbidden, or sinful with the 4 Imams does not mean that it does not have effect. According to all the 4 Sunni schools, whether a divorce is pronounced during menstruation, or thrice at once, or pronounced in the period of purity during which the husband has had sexual intercourse and the woman's being pregnant is unknown, or pronounced in a manner disapproved by an imam, in any case it does become effective, although the pronouncer commits an act of sin. But some other scholars differ in this regard from the 4 imams. Sa'id bin al-Musayyib and some other immediate followers of the companions say that the divorce of the person who pronounces it during menstruation, or pronounces it thrice at one time, does not take place at all. The same is the opinion of the Imamiyya sect of the Shias. The basis of this opinion is that since this form of divorce is forbidden and utterly irregular, it is ineffective, whereas the ahadith that we have cited above clearly show that when Abdullah bin Umar divorced his wife during menstruation, the Prophet, peace be upon him, commanded him to take her back. Had the divorce not taken effect at all, the command to take the wife back would have been meaningless. And this also confirmed by many ahadith that the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the major companions considered the pronouncement of more divorces than one at one time sinful but did not regard his divorce as ineffective. Taz and Ikrimah say that only one divorce takes place if divorce is pronounced thrice at once, and this very view has been adopted by Imam Ibn Taymiyyah. The source of this opinion is that Abu as-Saba asked Ibn Abbas, "Don't you know that in the lifetime of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and Abu Bakr and in the early period of Umar a triple divorce was considered a single divorce?" He replied, "Yes, Bukhari Muslim. And in Muslim, Abu Dud and Musnad Ahmad, Ibn Abbas's this statement has been cited, in the lifetime of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and Abu Bakr, and during the first 2 years of the caliphate of Umar a triple divorce was considered a single divorce. Then Umar expressed the view, as the people have started acting hasty in a matter in which they had been advised to act judiciously and prudently, why should we not enforce this practice? So he enforced it. But this view is not acceptable for several reasons. In the first place, according to several traditions, Ibn Abbas's own ruling was against it, as we have explained above. Secondly, it is contrary to those ahadith also, which have been reported from the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the major companions, in which the ruling given about the pronouncement of a threefold divorce at one time is that all his 3 divorces become effective. These ahadith have also been cited above. Thirdly, from Ibn Abbas's own tradition itself it becomes evident that Umar had publicly enforced the triple divorce in the assembly of the companions, but neither then nor after it these companions ever expressed any difference of opinion. Now, can it be conceived that Umar could decide an issue against the Sunnah? And could the companions also accept his decision without protest? Furthermore, in the story concerning Rakana bin Abi Yazib, a tradition has been related by Abu Dud, Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, Imam Shafi'i, Darimi and Hakim, saying that when Rakana pronounced 3 divorces on his wife in one and the same sitting, the Prophet, peace be upon him, asked him to state on oath whether his intention was to pronounce 1 divorce only, that is, the 2 subsequent divorces were pronounced only to lay emphasis on the first divorce. The triple divorce was not intended to create separation permanently. And when he stated this on oath, the Prophet, peace be upon him, gave him the right to take his wife back. This brings out the truth of the matter as to what kind of divorces were considered a single divorce in the earliest period of Islam. On this very basis, the interpreters of the hadith have explained the tradition of Ibn Abbas thus: as in the early period of Islam deceit and fraud in religious matters was almost unknown among the people, the statement of the pronouncer of a triple divorce was admitted that his real intention was to pronounce only a single divorce, and the 2 subsequent divorces had been pronounced only for the sake of emphasis. But when Umar saw that the people first pronounced 3 divorces in haste, and then presented the excuse of pronouncing them only for the sake of emphasis, he refused to accept this excuse. Imam Nawawi and Imam Subki regard this as the best interpretation of the tradition from Ibn Abbas. Finally, there is disagreement in the traditions of Abu as-Sabah himself, which he has related concerning the saying of Ibn Abbas. Muslim, Abu Dud and Nasai have related from this same Abu as-Sabah another tradition, saying that on an inquiry by him, Ibn Abbas said, when a person pronounced a threefold divorce on his wife before consummation of marriage, it was considered a single divorce in the lifetime of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and Abu Bakr and in the early period of Umar. Thus, one and the same reporter has reported from Ibn Abbas traditions containing 2 divergent themes, and this diversity weakens both the traditions. 3. As the Prophet, peace be upon him, had commanded the pronouncer of the divorce during menstruation to take his wife back, the dispute has arisen among the jurists as to what is the exact sense of this command. Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Ahmad, Imam Ozai, Ibn Abi Layla, Ishaq bin Rahawayh and Abu Thor say that such a person would be commanded to take his wife back, but would not be compelled to do so. Ahmad al-Kari. The Hanafi viewpoint as stated in Hidayah is that in this case taking the wife back is not only preferable but also obligatory. In Mughni al-Maraj the Shafi'i viewpoint has been stated to be that the approved, i.e. one according to Sunnah, method for the one who has pronounced divorces during menstruation, but has not pronounced the triple divorce, is that he should take his wife back, and should refrain from pronouncing divorce in the following period of purity, but should pronounce it, if he so likes, in the period of purity when the wife has become free from her next menstrual course and attained purity, so that his revocation of the divorce pronounced during menstruation is not taken in jest. The Hanbali viewpoint as presented in Al-Insaf is that in this state it is preferable for the pronouncer of divorce to take his wife back. But Imam Malik and his companions say that pronouncement of divorce during menstruation is a cognizable offense. Whether the woman makes a demand or not, it is in any case the duty of the ruler that if such an act of someone is brought to his notice, he must compel the person to take his wife back and should continue to press him till the end of the waiting period, and if he refuses to take her back, he should imprison him. If he still refuses, he should beat him, and if he still does not accede, the ruler should give his own decision, saying, "I return your wife to you." And the ruler's this decision would be effective, after which it would be lawful for the man to have sexual intercourse with the woman, whether he intends to take her back or not, for the ruler's intention represents his intention. Hashiya ad-Dasuki. The Malikis also say that if the person, who has taken his wife back willingly or unwillingly, after divorcing her during menstruation, has made up his mind to repudiate her, the preferable method for him is that he should refrain from divorcing her in the period of purity following the menstruation during which he divorced her, but should divorce her in the period of purity following the next menstruation. The prohibition to pronounce divorce in the period of purity following the menstruation in which divorce was pronounced has been enjoined so that the return of the pronouncer during menstruation does not remain merely oral, but he should have sexual intercourse with the woman during the period of purity. Then, since the pronouncement of divorce in the period of purity in which sexual intercourse has taken place is prohibited, the right time for pronouncing it is the following period of purity only. Hashiya ad-Dasuki. 4. As to the question, till when has the pronouncer of one revocable divorce the power to take his wife back? Difference of opinion has arisen among the jurists, and this difference has occurred on the question, what do the words Thalathata Quru'in of Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayat 228, imply, 3 menstruation or 3 periods of purity? According to Imam Shafi'i and Malik, Qara implies a period of purity, and this view is held on the authority of Aisha, Ibn Umar and Zayd bin Thabit. The Hanafi viewpoint is that Qara implies menstruation, and the same is the authentic viewpoint of Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal too. This view is based on the authority of all the 4 rightly guided caliphs, Abdullah bin Masud, Abdullah bin Abbas, Ubay bin Ka'b, Muad bin Jabal, Abu ad-Darda, Ubadah bin as-Samit and Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. Imam Muhammad in his Muwatta has cited a saying of Shabi, saying that he met 13 of the Prophet's companions, and they all held this same opinion, and this very view was adopted by many of the immediate followers of the companions also. On account of this difference of opinion, according to the Shafi'is and the Malikis, the waiting period of the woman comes to an end as soon as she enters the 3rd menstruation, and the man's power to take her back is terminated. And if the divorce has been pronounced during menstruation, this menstruation will not be counted towards the waiting period, but the waiting period will come to an end as soon as the woman enters the 4th menstruation. Mudni al-Mutaj, Hashiya ad-Dasuki. The Hanafi's viewpoint is that if the menstrual discharge in the 3rd menstruation stops after 10 days, the waiting period of the woman will come to an end with it whether she takes purification bath or not, and if the discharge ceases within less than 10 days, the waiting period will not come to an end until the woman has taken her purification bath, or until a prayer time has passed. In case water is not available, according to Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Abu Yusuf, the man's right to return to her will be terminated when she has performed her prayer with tayammum, purification with dust, and according to Imam Muhammad, as soon as she has performed tayammum itself. Hidayah. Imam Ahmad's authentic viewpoint, which is held by the majority of the Hanbalis, is that as long as the woman does not have her purification bath after the 3rd menstruation, the man's right to return to her will remain. Al-Insaf. 5. As for the question that is the method of taking the wife back, the jurists agree that the person, who has pronounced a revocable divorce on his wife, can return to her whenever he likes before the expiration of the waiting period, whether the woman is desirous of this or not, for the Quran says, their husbands are best entitled to take them back as their wives during this waiting period. Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayat 228. From this it can automatically be concluded that until the expiry of the waiting period, the marriage tie remains intact and the husbands can take them back before they are separated absolutely and finally. In other words, taking the wife back does not mean renewal of marriage for which the woman's consent may be necessary. After being unanimous so far, the jurists have different opinions about the method of taking the wife back. According to the Shafi'is, return can take place only by the oral word, not by conduct. If the husband does not say with the tongue that he has taken the wife back, no act of intercourse or intimacy, even if performed with the intention of resuming marital relationship, will be considered resumption of the relationship. Rather, in this case, seeking of any kind of enjoyment from the woman is unlawful even if it is without lust. But there is no ban on having sexual intercourse with the woman, who has been divorced revocably, for the scholars have not agreed on its being unlawful. However, the one who believes in its being unlawful will be punishable. Furthermore, according to the Shafi'i viewpoint, it is in any case incumbent to pay a proper or customary dower, mar mithal, in case the husband has intercourse with the wife whom he had divorced revocably, whether after it he takes her back orally or not. Mughni Mudaj. The Malikis say that return can be effected both orally and by conduct. If for the purpose of resumption by word of mouth the husband uses express words, the resumption will take place whether he intended it or not. Even if he uttered express words of resumption in jest, these words would amount to return and resumption. But if the words are not express, they would be considered resumption of relationship only in case they were pronounced with the intention of resumption. As for resumption by conduct, no act, whether it is an act of intimacy or sexual intercourse, can be considered resumption as long as it has not been performed with the intention of the resumption of marital relation. Hashiyya ad-Dasuki, Ibn Arabi, Ahkam al-Quran. As for resumption of relationship by the word of mouth, the Hanafi and the Hanbali viewpoint is the same as the Maliki. As for resumption by conduct, the ruling of both the schools, contrary to the Malikis, is that if the husband performs sexual intercourse with the woman whom he has divorced revocably within the waiting period, it would by itself amount to resumption whether there was the intention of resumption or not. However, the difference between the viewpoints of the two schools is that according to the Hanafis every act of intimacy amounts to resumption even if it is of a lesser degree than sexual intercourse, whereas the Hanbalis do not regard a mere act of intimacy as resumption of marital relationship. Hidayah, Fath al-Qadir, Umdat al-Kari al-Insaf. 6. As for the consequences of talaq as sunnah, regular form of divorce according to the sunnah, and talaq al-Bidi, irregular form of divorce, the difference is this. In case one or two divorces have been pronounced, the divorced woman and her former husband can remarry by mutual consent even if the waiting period has expired. But if a man has pronounced 3 divorces, resumption of marital relation is neither possible within the waiting period, nor after the expiry of the waiting period, unless, however, the woman marries another person, the marriage is duly contracted and consummated, and then either the second husband divorces her or dies. Then if the woman and her former husband wish to remarry by mutual consent, they can do so. In most collections of the Ahadith, a tradition has been reported on sound authority, saying that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was asked, a man pronounced 3 divorces on his wife, then the woman married another man and the two had privacy but there was no intercourse. Then he divorced her. Now, can this woman remarry her former husband? The Prophet replied, no, unless her second husband has enjoyed her just as her first husband had enjoyed her. As for the prearranged marriage, talaq, which is meant to legalize the woman for her former husband, so that she would marry another man, who would divorce her after having had sexual intercourse with her, this is invalid according to Imam Abu Yusuf, and according to Imam Abu Hanifa. The woman would become lawful for her former husband by this ceremony, but such a thing is reprehensible to the extent of being unlawful. Abdullah bin Masud has reported that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, Allah has cursed both the legalizer, mihalal, and the one for whom legalization is performed, mihalallahu. Tirmidhi Nasai. Uqba bin Amir says that the Prophet, peace be upon him, asked his companions, should I not tell you as to who is a hired bull? The companions said that he should. He said, it is he who performs talaq, legalization of marriage. Allah's curse falls both on the mihalal, legalizer, and on the mihalahu, the one for whose sake marriage is legalized. Ibn Majah, Daraqutni. 2. This command is addressed to the men as well as the women and the people of their families. It means, do not treat divorce lightly. It is a grave matter, which gives birth to many legal questions for the man, the woman, their children and the people of their house. Therefore, when divorce is pronounced, its time and date should be remembered and also the state in which divorce was pronounced on the woman. One should keep an accurate account of when the waiting period started and when it would expire. On this reckoning will depend the determination of the following questions. Till when the husband has the power to take the wife back? Till when he has to keep her in the house? Till when is he bound to maintain her? Till when will he inherit the woman and the woman him? When will the woman be separated from him finally and obtain the right to remarry? And if this matter takes the shape of a lawsuit, the court also, in order to arrive at the correct decision, will need to know the correct date and time of pronouncing the divorce and the woman's state at the time, for without this information, it cannot give the right decision on the questions arising from the divorce in respect of the women who have been enjoyed, or not, pregnant, or not, who menstruate, or no longer menstruate, and who have been divorced revocably or irrevocably. 3. That is, either should the man turn out the woman in anger, nor the woman herself should leave the house in anger and haste. The house is hers during the waiting period, and both the man and the wife should live together so that advantage may be taken if there is any chance of reconciliation. If the divorce is revocable, the husband may at any time be inclined towards the wife, and the wife also may try to win the husband's pleasure by removing the causes of dispute and difference. If both stay together in the same house, there may appear many an occasion for reconciliation during the 3 months or the 3 menstrual periods, or till childbirth in case of pregnancy. But if the man turns her out in angry haste, or the woman returns to her parents imprudently, chances of reconciliation diminish, and the divorce generally leads to permanent separation. That is why the jurists have even suggested that in case of a revocable divorce the woman should adorn herself during her waiting period so as to attract the husband. Hidayah, Al-Insaf. The jurists agree that the revocably divorced woman has a right to lodging and maintenance during the waiting period, and it is not lawful for the woman to leave the house without the husband's permission, nor is it lawful for the husband to turn her out of the house. If the husband turns her out, he will be guilty of an act of sin, and if the woman leaves of her own accord, she will not only commit a sin but will also forfeit her right to lodging and maintenance. 4. Several meanings of this have been given by different jurists. Hassan Basri, Amir Shaubi, Zayd bin Aslam, Dahak, Mujahid, Ikrimah, Ibn Zayd, Hamd and Layth say that it implies adultery. Ibn Abbas says that it implies abusive language that the woman may continue to use against the husband and the people of his house even after the divorce, during the waiting period. Qatada says that it implies the woman's disobedient to her husband. That is, if the wife has been divorced because of her disobedience, she may continue to be disobedient to her husband even during the waiting period. Abdullah bin Umar, Sudi, Ibn as-Saib and Ibrahim Nakai say that this implies the woman's leaving the house of herself. That is, in their opinion the woman's leaving the house in the waiting period by itself amounts to committing an open indecency, and the command, "Nor should they themselves leave the house except in case they commit an open indecency," is an admonition of this nature. Do not abuse others except in case you wish to be known as a discourteous person. According to the first 3 of these 4 viewpoints, except in case is related with do not turn them out of their houses, and the sentence means that if they are guilty of immorality, or of using invectives or of disobedience, it would be lawful to turn them out of the houses. And according to the 4th view, it is related with nor should they themselves leave their houses, and it means that if they leave their houses they would be guilty of open indecency. 5. Both these sentences refute the viewpoint of those who hold that divorce does not take place at all if it is pronounced during menstruation or thrice at once, and also the view of those who think that a triple divorce amounts to a single divorce. The question arises, if an irregular, biddy, divorce does not take place, or a triple divorce amounts to a single revocable divorce, what then is the need of saying, whoever transgresses the bounds set by Allah, i.e. the method taught by the Sunnah, would wrong his own self, and you do not know Allah may after this bring about a situation of reconciliation. These 2 things would be meaningful only in case pronouncement of divorce against the method taught by the Sunnah should be harmful for which one may have to regret later, and the pronouncement of a triple divorce at once may not leave any room for reconciliation. Otherwise, obviously by pronouncing a divorce which does not take effect at all one does not transgress the bounds set by Allah, which may be regarded as wronging one's own self. And after a divorce which is in any case only revocable there does remain room for reconciliation. Thus, there would be no need to say, Allah may after this bring about a situation of reconciliation. Here, one should again understand well the mutual relationship between verses 228 to 230 of Surah Al-Baqarah, and these verses of Surah At-Talaq. In Surah Al-Baqarah the number of divorces laid down is 3, of which after pronouncing the first 2 one retains the right to take his wife back and the right to remarry her in case the wailing period has expired, without resort to legalization, talaq, and if divorce is pronounced for the 3rd time, the husband forfeits both these rights. These verses of Surah At-Talaq were not sent down to amend or cancel this rule but to teach the people how to use wisely the powers that they have been given to divorce their wives, which if used rightly could save homes from ruin, could protect the husband from remorse if he had pronounced a divorce, could provide him maximum opportunities for reconciliation, and even if separation had taken place, could show him a way to reunite in marriage as a last resort if the couple so desired. But if a person happens to use these powers unwisely, in a wrong way, he could only be wronging his own self and wasting all opportunities for making amends. It is just like a father's giving 300 rupees in his son's possession and telling him to spend the amount as he may like, then advising him to the effect, spend the money given to you carefully, at the right place, and piecemeal, so that you may benefit by it fully. Otherwise, if you spend it unwisely and carelessly in wrong places, or spend the whole of it at once, you will incur losses, and then I would not give you any more. This advice would be meaningless if the father did not give the amount in the son's possession at all, so that if he had wanted to spend it in a wrong place, he should be powerless to spend it, or if he had wanted to spend the whole amount, he could only take out a part of it while the rest lay safe with him in any case. If the condition be such, there could obviously be no need for this kind of advice.